Welcome to the Mindful Practice Podcast, a space for physicians navigating burnout, identity shifts, and career change without pressure or judgment. I'm your host, Dr. Bertina Hooks, a board-certified internal medicine physician, coach, and writer. Here we talk honestly about what it means to build a sustainable career and a life beyond medicine and survival. Welcome back to the Mindful Practice Podcast, where we explore what it really means to build a career in medicine that aligns with who you are, not just what's expected of you. This month, we've been having a deeper conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion in medicine, particularly about race, identity, and systemic inequities that shape our experience as physicians. Today, we're expanding that conversation because D&I in medicine is not just about race or ethnicity, it's also about disability, chronic illness, and identities and experiences that often are invisible, overlooked, or understood in clinical spaces. I've shared my experience as being a disabled physician as a right below the knee amputee since December 2022. Today's episode is also about disability in medicine and what it means to navigate a clinical career while still showing up, practicing, and redefining what's possible. I'm joined today by Dr. Kidd, a family medicine physician who has continued to practice for many years in occupational medicine and urgent care and is now transitioning to coaching to help other physicians design sustainable careers on their own terms. Dr. Kidd, welcome to the podcast. To start us off, what do you want listeners to know about you before we get into your story?
I am handicapped. I walk with braces on both legs, and I use a walker that I just started recently, but I still drive and work. I work in a prison and take care of the inmates, and I also do some weight loss medicine and urgent care.
Yes, you have a quite varied clinical career, as we talked about before. Can you share your journey into medicine and when muscular dystrophy became part of your life story in a way that affected how you trained or practiced?
Yeah, residency, I found out that I had, it's called Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease when I was probably 3 or 4 years old because my mom had it. And so I found out about it then. Never had many problems. I was the slow kid. I was the last one chosen in PE class and just really slow. But everything was normal. And when I got into residency, I was running up and down the stairs going to see patients. And especially running up and down during obstetrics. And started with my first problems then. I broke my foot 3 or 4 times and used a walking boot. And so that's when it started. And then a couple years after that, then I started having to wear braces. And slowly over the years, I've fallen quite a few times and now use the walker.
And what did you tell yourself in those early moments? Did you ever question whether medicine was still possible?
No, I never did.
Good.
I knew that I could do it in my head. I knew that I was smart enough to do it. I would figure out the rest.
Right.
If I knew that at some point I'd be in a wheelchair, and I figured residency would have been extremely difficult in a wheelchair, but I would have made it. I would have done it anyway.
Right. And what did you, in training, were there any invisible challenges that people didn't see, such as fatigue or pain, mobility issues, trouble with fine motor tasks, or recovery time at all?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenges really came in obstetrics. I'm a family practice physician, so I did a family practice residency, and there was a lot of obstetrics. The during obstetrics was really my biggest problem. When I was during, like, if somebody had a laceration and I sutured that, I really didn't have much of a problem. But then trying to suture in a small space, like in obstetrics, that's when I started having a lot of trouble. And I had some of my first incidences where I would be told what to do, and I physically wasn't able to do it. And so I had some run-ins with some residents that were trying to teach me and didn't understand that I couldn't do certain things, and they weren't going to accept that. And I just had to explain it to them until they got it, that I wasn't
Right.
able to do certain things. But for the most part, I've always been able to do most of the procedures through family practice. I've always done everything that I needed to do until about 3 years ago. And about 3 years ago, I started having trouble with my hands. I wasn't able to suture anymore.
Okay.
And so I've had to quit suturing, and that kind of hurts urgent care. You need to be able to suture in urgent care. So I've pretty much had to let urgent care go by the wayside. I have a nurse
And
practitioner working with me when I work.
okay, that's good. And then what helped keep you going? Like mentors, family, your faith, purpose, anything else that kept you going, motivated in your medical career?
All those things. Family, friends, my mom. My mom would say, "Get your big girl panties on."
Yeah.
Yeah. But my faith, I'm a Christian and certainly pray about things.
Right.
And husband, friends. Then when my kids came along, they encouraged me. So,
I'm glad to hear that. Because sometimes physicians with disabilities don't have that support system from family, friends, or during their training. Was there any mentors or attendings that you worked with or other upper class residents that were supportive, that helped you with your career?
I pretty much never had a mentor in medicine
Oh, really?
that really helped out with the disability part of it.
And did your residency program make any accommodations for you?
No, but I didn't ask them to.
Okay.
It was really just a couple times where I was with one on one with a resident, had a problem, because most of the time somebody would be there, somebody else could do the suturing or something. So it was rare that I had a problem.
That's good. And looking back, what do you wish your younger self as a physician had heard from someone who understood disability?
That's a hard one. Just not to feel so bad about it. I feel really guilty a lot of times when I'm not able to do something. When I'll have a patient that really wants me to do something for them and I can't. I still do D's on abscesses and remove toenails, but both of those things are I'm probably just about at the end of both of those also.
Right. But that's the important thing about our medical degree and our knowledge and our training is more than just what we do. It's also how we think, right? And our clinical judgment and things like that. And so, in my experience being a disabled physician, I feel like I've had more empathy with my patients. I understood my patients, and I feel like I've had a better rapport and understanding of how the medical system works. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, definitely. I spend a lot of time going to the doctor myself. I know all the problems that patients have. A lot of doctors' offices don't have an accommodation for the patient to get on the table. And that is something that I can feel for the patients when they're not able to do something that I need them to do. I certainly don't push. We find an alternative way to do something.
I totally agree. And that's, I think, why diversity in medicine is important, because we all bring something unique and different as physicians, as human beings, as even patients to medicine. And so everything needs to be represented equally, because I think that physicians who are disabled or any diversity in medicine makes medicine stronger. It makes it better overall.
Absolutely.
I really do. So let's talk a little bit more about disability in medicine. What do you think about disability inclusion in medicine today? And what do you think it looks like in real life? And where is it falling short?
I think that in general, that the world doesn't really know how to deal with disability. It's often very hard for somebody who's disabled to get around.
Definitely.
Until now, the invisible disability has always been a problem. And at one point, I thought about calling my coaching side of things that drunk doctor, because I was in a clinic one day and I refused a patient. I refused to give narcotics to a patient. And she was standing in the hallway screaming that I was rude and wouldn't give her any medication. And she hollered down the hall, "That drunk doctor won't give me any medicine."
Wow.
Yeah. And it was just the way I walk normally. And that's what she thought. She thought I was drunk because of the way I walked. So the invisible disability, I think, when you don't have braces, when you don't have a walker, and you just walk funny, people are like, "What's wrong with her?" When people look at you funny and stuff, that's often harder than it is with a walker or with braces. My mom would always wonder why I wanted to wear my braces on the outside of my clothes. I want to wear them on the outside so people know I'm wearing them.
Right.
Otherwise, they think I'm drunk or something.
Yes, I get that. And I think that as an amputee, what I've experienced, because I had a traumatic amputation. And as a result of that, when I first got my prosthetic, I was able to walk pretty well, but then I also was not working full time clinically and not able to do rehab. So for a while, I had very weak, like proximal hip muscles. So I walked with a limp. And people would say, "What's going on? What's wrong with your knee?" Because they can't see my prosthetic under my clothes because I wear pants. I do wear shorts and skirts and things like that. And I do think that a lot of people, there's ableism. What I've learned is that there's ableism. And so the people who are able, the world is built for people who are able, unfortunately. And everyone looks through that lens. So they don't really accommodate and see equity between different people. Or that when I became disabled, I had been working actively as a inpatient internal medicine hospitalist, which is very demanding, on your feet, running for codes, things like that. And I was told by my employer that I could not practice anymore. Even though I had been cleared medically to go back to work, I did ask for accommodations to begin with, which is pretty standard, and those were honored. But the fact that I was told that because I'm missing a limb doesn't mean that I can't practice medicine, I found absurd, because there are lots of physicians who are disabled. And how does me not being able to wearing a prosthetic to ambulate have anything to do with my ability to take care of patients? It has nothing to do with it. And so for people to make those assumptions, even other physicians who should know better, who take care of patients who are disabled and should not be biased like that. So that was really disheartening for me to kind of deal with that, because I really feel that There needs to be accommodations in medicine. We need to look at physicians as that you have transferable skills and your medical degree can be used in other ways with direct patient care if you want to and other non-clinical ways, but that doesn't, but something happening to you, we all age, right? We all get older. We may develop chronic illnesses over time. That doesn't make you any less of a physician because you're aging, and it shouldn't make
Right.
you any less of a physician if you're disabled. And that's the problem that people don't get. And so that's why I want to create this space, because I want people to be aware that we're out here, we're out and we're practicing, we're taking care of patients, we're making an impact, and that's important. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember sitting in my car in the hospital parking lot, unable to make myself walk inside. That's the moment I realized burnout wasn't the problem, it was the symptom. Medical school taught us how to practice medicine. Nobody taught us how to intentionally design a career or a life that actually fits who we've become. That realization led me to build a simple framework. 5 steps I now call the 5 R's that took me from being an overwhelmed and uncertain physician to a clear, confident, and financially resistant one. I've walked this path myself, and I've now guided other physicians through it too. Physicians who didn't think there was a way out. If you're a physician who knows something has to change, I'm teaching this entire framework live and completely free. Go to the website below to save and reserve your seat. That goes into my question about, do you feel that the system is designed to support physicians with chronic illness or disability or not?
Probably not really. I know a lot of it. I think when I was a young physician, I always thought, if I had the same thing as a patient, should I share it? Or
Right.
is that I shouldn't share it? Because
Oh, okay.
is what I thought, that I have to be stoic and I can't be really empathetic and sympathetic with the patient.
Right.
And as I've gotten older, I've realized that patients do like that.
They do.
And if they know that you share something with them that makes them feel better.
Right.
And
It makes you feel human. I think physicians put ourselves on a high platform, right? We're trained to be like we're superior or better, but we are really all humans. And I think it makes it more humane, and I think it builds rapport. I've shared my disability with patients, and they've been very welcoming to it.
right.
Yeah, they've really received it well. I think it's within our medical community that
In the
those
medical
people have
community,
they have issues. Sure.
right. That I just cannot believe that you ran into that. That's just
Oh, yeah, I did.
appalling.
And much more. I lost friends, colleagues who said that, just made very insensitive comments about my disability and the circumstances around it. But bad things happen to good people all the time. But even if you're born with a disability or you acquire a disability, or even if you're from a diverse background, that doesn't mean that you can't practice medicine.
Right.
That doesn't mean you don't have the capacity to practice medicine. And that's so important. So I want to ask you, where do you think the biggest breakdown happens in the medical community? Is it the training, the credentialing, the workplace culture, lack of accommodations? Where do you think the breakdown is in our medical community as far as when it comes to disability in medicine?
I think it's probably throughout,
I think
but
too.
but in training, I think it would have helped if there had been more sensitivity. Sensitivity training would have been amazing. I found a
agree.
lot of things that we didn't have in medical school that we should have had. Besides
Yes.
sensitivity training, we should have had a little nutrition, maybe would have been good, and a little law and a little business.
Yes, definitely. More rounded, yeah, because we don't learn about the business of medicine. We don't learn much about nutrition, and we don't learn a lot about DEI. I think it's improving because I actually work with SNMA and I speak with students and residents about medicine, how things are changing, right? And share my story. And I do think that there needs to be more awareness of this, and that because we don't even talk about getting disability insurance in case something happens or preparing for something like that. And then when it happens to you, the culture doesn't really support you. I
Right.
think it's with training. I think it's with workplace culture. I think
Yeah.
it's with lack of accommodations. I think there's a system issue that needs to be addressed in our healthcare system and in our society, for sure. For
Now,
sure.
I will say, with when I went to work at the prison, I told them that I was disabled, and they asked me what accommodations I needed. All I needed was a bar in the bathroom. They were quick to act.
Right,
So I
right.
found that very refreshing.
I did too. And I think I shared with you that I did correctional medicine as well. And I felt like I wasn't disabled at the time, but I did see that they did make accommodations for nurses, for doctors, and that is refreshing because I was surprised that they were making those accommodations, but I'm glad that they are. I'm glad there's awareness in that field of medicine for sure. Yeah. What kinds of bias have you experienced? I know you mentioned some examples with that patient before, but any subtle assumptions that people make because of your disability or concerns about framed as safety issues or doubts about your stamina or productivity at all?
I think with one thing, just people in general, not being a doctor, but just as a person, the braces on my legs would often make people think that I didn't have any brains.
Right.
And so I guess there are a lot of mentally retarded people that wear braces. But just because you wear braces doesn't mean you are mentally
It does
retarded.
not. Oh, ma'am.
So that's been a big issue. I was going to say something else. I forgot.
No problem. Take your time.
I can't remember.
That's okay. If it comes back to you, let me know if you want to mention it. I think I've had people doubt as a hospitalist and having to have a lot of stamina in the hospital or
Yeah.
worried about productivity and things like that. I know that my former employer was very concerned about safety issues, and I'm like, okay, I don't know. They never really disclosed what they were concerned about as far as safety. If they were concerned about my safety or patient safety, I don't know. But irregardless, I think that those assumptions are associated with the misconceptions about disability. And that's the problem. People really got to know people that were disabled. They would know that's not the only thing that defines you, just like as someone who's able bodied, it's not
Right.
the only thing that defines them.
Right.
And so that's the key. Have
I
you
think
ever
there's,
felt, oh, go ahead, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. I think there's just a general perception as you age in medicine that your productivity is going to slow down
I agree. Yeah.
and that you're not
Yeah.
going to be able to be computer literate.
Yeah. I agree with that too. Have you ever felt pressure to overperform to prove you're competent?
Luckily, I haven't.
I haven't felt that pressure either. How do you decide what to disclose to whom and when? I think that's an important issue.
Really, it's just in the moment. It's just the feeling I get from a patient. If I feel like they're really down about a disability, sometimes I'll share mine
To inspire, to, yes,
to
that's
try
good.
to make them feel better.
Or that they're not alone. Yeah. I think you have to be careful, unfortunately, when you decide what to disclose to whom and when. And I think that a lot of it has to do with who do you trust. Like I said, I disclosed that had become disabled to my employers, administrators, and practice owners, and they did not understand about accommodations. But there have been colleagues, there has been patients that I've felt comfortable disclosing that to. But It just depends on the situation and how comfortable I feel and whether
Yeah.
I feel that I can trust them, right?
Right.
It's unfortunate that you have to do that. You have to have that discernment, but I think it is important. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people don't realize the accommodations that are needed. And
Hmm.
even when you're asking for them or trying to ask for them, I always try to be very, not to disclose too much of my medical information because it's really none of their business.
Right.
But at the same time, I do, if there is a need, I say, I need this or I need that for whatever reason. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess, unluckily, I have not been around very many disabled physicians.
Oh, really? Yeah. I think we keep
So
to ourselves, don't we?
I think we do. I
I think
know,
we do.
I had a doctor, he was my neurologist. He was in a wheelchair and he seemed to get around pretty well. We've had accommodations for him, but
Right.
he drove himself to work and stuff and did just fine. But
Right.
otherwise, I've not been around any physicians
Oh, really?
that have been disabled that I know of.
After I became disabled and I kind of reached out for some help because I am a single working mother and so I didn't really have family support and I'm divorced. So at that point, and I had reached out to people that should have responded and they didn't. Really, some of the local medical community really rallied around me and supported me.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
so that's really was helpful. And then other people who maybe didn't live close by reached out and tried to assist because they were amputees or they were disabled. But I do think that there is like of a stigma with disability
Mm,
and living with a disability. And I think people are concerned about how they're perceived by others.
yeah.
I think they're perceived, especially how they're perceived by their colleagues in the medical community.
Mm,
That's one of the reasons why I wrote a memoir about it because I hope to raise some more awareness. And my memoir is going to be published in the fall because and I think that hopefully it'll awaken and kind of show that my life is no different. My life is different now than before. I won't say that
yeah.
it's not, but I will say that the amazing thing is that people can adapt. And whether that's a quick adaptation with a or over time, either way, people are able to adapt, and that's the most important thing. They're
Yeah.
able to heal, they're able to recover and get some semblance of that life back to a certain degree. Because a lot of people are surprised that I drive as a right below the knee amputee, but there are accommodations that you can have in your car. I use a left foot accelerator, or I
Mhm.
drive with my left foot. And obviously, I'm not going to drive a stick shift anytime soon, but I can get to and from work and take my daughter to events and things like that, just like any other working mother. And I think that loss of independence is was really the driving factor for me to
Yes.
gain as much independence and as it possible. So, yes.
I actually, this week, looked into getting hand controls put in my vehicle. And my husband and I were absolutely amazed that you have to go through the government and go through classes and
Mm-hmm.
get hooked up with vocational rehab
Yes, I did that
in
as well.
order to get. And I'm like, but you're not paying for anything for my vehicle.
No,
They're
they're
like,
not.
it doesn't matter. You
Hmm.
have to go through the classes and you have to waste my time, drive all the way downtown with all of this for absolutely no reason. And taxpayers have to pay for it.
Yes. And they don't pay for it. I did in the state of Texas here, I did vocational rehab and they really did not help me. I ended
No,
up
they're
paying
not.
for most of the things out of my pocket, going through my medical insurance if possible to get OT and PT training and things like that. So I totally
Yep.
understand. Yeah. How do you protect your own boundaries physically and emotionally while still showing up for patients?
Oh gosh, I don't even know how to answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I am pretty tough most of the time. And I don't,
take any crap.
yeah, I just don't take a lot from
Mm-hmm.
people.
Right,
But
right.
I've learned just over the past couple of years, like we were talking about, letting patients know that we are disabled. And that's been something pretty recent that I've done. Before that, I thought it was a no-no.
I did too.
And so that's really something kind of new that I've had to kind of let down
Yeah.
my guard that I hadn't in the past. I had just been very stoic and tough.
Yes. And I think you do have to have resilience in this field of medicine. And I think if you're disabled, I think you either have even have to have more resilience. And I think you do have to set boundaries. I think now I prioritize my health more and I say no to things at work that are going to exhaust me. I'm not going to take extra call. I'm not going to do extra shifts and things like that to protect my energy and to kind of have a little bit more work-life balance for sure. Definitely.
I'm actually on call 24/7.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I take call nonstop. I'm the only physician at the prison. And so I
Okay.
take 24/7 call. The nurse practitioners don't take any call. So I take it all. So
Okay. Okay.
I've kind of let that happen, which I don't mind it terribly because I normally don't get very many
On
crazy
calls.
calls. So it hadn't really been bad, but I could see the need to protect myself. If it was crazier, I would definitely need to say something.
Do you have any flexibility built in to your shift length or schedules? How the
As,
clinic is set up or the,
as far as the call, or
yes, the call or the clinic? Yes.
I work 3 10-hour days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they actually allowed me to do that. I was working five 8-hour days, and I asked if I could have 2 days off a week, and they allowed that to go to 3 10 hours. So I thought that was really nice.
That's good. Yeah, that's really nice. And there is a lot of flexibility. I remember when I did correctional medicine, I worked on site and then I also did sometimes telemedicine as well. So, yeah, so, and I think that there is more flexibility with that. And that's one of the reasons I really enjoyed it, especially being a working mother at the time, because I could have a little bit more flexibility and they could accommodate physicians that were working in in the facility for sure. So that's good. What if the career you work so hard to build isn't the career you have to keep forever? If you're a physician feeling trapped, not because you're not skilled or dedicated, but because no one ever taught you there were other paths, you're not alone and you're not stuck. I'm Dr. Bertina Hooks, and I created the Phoenix Physician Freedom Blueprint, a 5-step framework physicians are using right now to move from burnout to clarity, purpose, and financial freedom. This isn't a theory. It's the exact roadmap I use to rebuild my own career. And it's already working for physicians who felt exactly like you do right now. Clarity, confidence, financial resilience. Join me live for free and I'll walk you through the entire framework. Register now at the website listed below for the free live masterclass. I'm going to ask you a few more questions. Were there any key pivotal moments where you had to adjust course to stay in medicine? I know you do a lot of variety of clinical work.
I think when I got to the point in urgent care where I was seeing upwards of 60 to 80 patients a day during COVID, and I got to the point I had COVID. I was in the hospital with COVID. I got out of the hospital. That was a big one. That's something I forgot about. I try to bury this because it was so awful, but I
I'm
was on
sorry.
oxygen.
Oh, wow.
I carried oxygen with me into the patient's rooms to see each individual patient. Now that was the most embarrassing thing I've ever had to do. That was a lot worse than the walker or the braces. It was pretty bad. And that lasted about a year. And I burned out. I couldn't any longer. It was too much. So that's when I went into correctional medicine.
Okay. And so, what trade offs have you had to make? And what have you refused to compromise on in your medical career?
I had to give up a clinic that was right down the street. I drive an hour and 20 minutes now to get to work, but I wasn't going to give up my lifestyle. I wanted to be able to make the amount of money that I was making. And so I looked around quite a bit before I found something that would let me make the money that I wanted. But
Right.
I knew that I had to get out of, I couldn't continue to see that many patients.
Yes. That's not sustainable for any physician. I totally agree. So now I'm excited to talk to you about your evolution because you mentioned that you're transitioning into coaching. So what drew you to this next chapter? And what kind of physicians do you feel most called to help?
I think that one, I don't want to drive the hour and a half, and I'm seeing myself moving towards a wheelchair. And so I want to move into coaching so I can do it from home. And I want to be able to help patients with disabilities be able to navigate the healthcare system and know what they need as far as preventative medicine, vaccines, and things like that. I want them to know what kinds of things that they need to think about as far as being disabled, what they need to be able to ask about at work, ask for accommodations. When they go to the doctor, I want to help them so that they know what to ask and what to demand. I think it's ridiculous for a doctor's office not to have a table that a patient can get on.
And I face that. And now I'm more sensitive to that. And I've made those accommodations in my practice so that my patients can have that. Because I don't think people know about their rights, about what they can have. So I really think that I really like that you're going to be helping other patients, physicians with disabilities asking for what they need and getting the accommodations that they need as well. And so I guess if a patient or a physician feels stuck, what are the first questions you're going to help them ask or address?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that patients will be asking is, what do I do? My doctor's not helping me with whatever it is. And just teaching them that their doctor needs to help them, that they
Right.
need to push their doctor to help them as far as their disability and their medical needs.
Exactly. Yep. And I think a lot of physicians don't know about the resources that are out there. So, like
Oh my
when
God.
patients are asking for it, they don't even know how to connect them. And so I've realized that in my own interactions as a disabled patient, asking my doctors, surgeons, PMR doctors, primary care doctors, because I have a team of people that help care for me, and they don't know where to direct me to. So I've had to really do my own research to find the accommodations. And so I started working with the Amputee Coalition so if people became new amputees, they would come to me and I would say, this is how you get your license, and this is how you get accommodations at work, and this is how you get in to see a OT so you can get things to help you drive or be independent or dress yourself at home. It's ironic that we know so much about medicine, the human body and everything, and how the medicines work and disease processes, but we can't direct our patients to the appropriate resources that they need. And as a physician who navigates that healthcare system and I'm running into these barriers, that's frustrating. So imagine for a patient who's navigating this. So that's really commendable work that you're going to be doing. And I know because you are disabled, how are you going to build your coaching work while still honoring your own capacity? Because I want to make sure you're protecting your own energy as well.
Right now, I'm staying working at the prison. I was going to say one thing that did help, one thing in residency, we had 1 month where I forget the name of the month, but it was about learning what was available in the community for seniors, for children, for disabled people, just for all different kinds of people and things. So that was a really neat month to learn how to learn was
Right.
around.
That's good. I know you're still doing correctional medicine, which is totally great. And I know you're making an impact there. But if you start your coaching business and start working with patients and physicians, I think you'll also be great at that as well. Yes. And so I wish you continued success with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So before we close, I wanted to ask you, if a physician is listening, is dealing with a chronic illness or disability, or suspects that they may be, and they're questioning their place in medicine, what would you say to them?
Don't question your place in medicine at all. There's nothing that would have stopped me from staying in medicine. I know a lot of doctors after COVID got out. That's not something that I would do. I know I want to be a doctor in whatever capacity it is. I love being a doctor, and I don't care physically what's up with me. If I'm in a wheelchair, it doesn't matter. I will take care of patients.
That's great. And that means that this is a destiny, this is a calling, right? This is
Yeah.
something that you were destined to do, no
Yeah.
matter what. I totally agree. So thank you, Dr. Kidd. Today's conversation is a reminder that diversity in medicine isn't always visible, and inclusion requires us to expand how we think about identity, ability, and belonging. Dr. Kidd, thank you for sharing your story and for modeling what it can look like to keep evolving clinically and personally while honoring your body and your values. If this resonated with you, I encourage you to reflect on one assumption you've held about what a capable physician looks like and consider how that assumption may be limiting patients, colleagues, or even yourself. Until next time. As I reflect on my own journey, I'm also reminded that some stories take years before you fully understand why you had to live them before you could tell them. This season has been especially meaningful for me because I recently signed a publishing contract for my upcoming memoir, Fire to Freedom, a journey of transformation, renewal, and resilience. In many ways, this book captures not only moments like the ones I shared today, but the deeper journey of resilience, identity, healing, and becoming through personal adversity, professional growth, and life transitions that shaped who I am today. I will be sharing more in the months ahead as we move toward the book's release. But I wanted to mention it here because this story and many others live within those pages. Sometimes the chapters we survive quietly become the chapters we are later called to share. And if my story helps someone else believe that adversity does not disqualify purpose, then every chapter has meaning. Thank you for listening to the Mindful Practice podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, you can find free burnout and career clarity resources at pinnaclebusinessacademy.org. And if this podcast supported you, Please consider subscribing or sharing it with a colleague who might need it. Remember, you are more than your white coat. You are not broken, and you are allowed to evolve. Until next time, take care of yourself, not just your role.